feeling presence. That's what it's about, yeah. Waking up the presence. We live in a pretty narrow bandwidth. Much of that bandwidth is taken up by our thoughts and our thinking, our beliefs, our attitudes, our predispositions. And it can be challenging to expand beyond that bandwidth. It can be challenging, it can be frightening. And there's good reasons for that. You know, when we look at a baby or a puppy, and we see that openness, that innocence of themselves, they're totally vulnerable, they're totally dependent. And we were all in that place once. We were all in that wide open space where we were totally at the whim of our environment. And some of those environments were less kind than others. Some of those environments sent the message to that little organism, protect, protect, protect. And so we did. And one of the ways that we protect is that we form kind of a shell that we live in. We form a little bubble. And after a while, we start to harden that bubble, that shell that we live in, and we hope that other people that we don't want in our bubble will stay out of our bubble. And maybe we want to see people a little closer to our bubble, and maybe they get closer or not, but we have that desire. But that bubble ultimately does something that causes probably even more pain than the pain that our little organism has felt over time. And that bubble separates us from everything else. That bubble divides us from everything else. So we wander around, maybe looking for a soulmate or a perfect occupation that's going to give us a sense of who we are, a place to drive a stake in the ground and say, this is mine, this is me. And we have many stakes that we're going around trying to hammer in. And some people are lucky and they do a pretty good job of staking out the territory. Other people have a harder time just coming into feeling themselves as a bubble. I had an image today of a kid at an amusement park that was going on the ride, and he suddenly, or she suddenly decides that she doesn't want to be on that ride. So for that kid, maybe we've been that kid, the ride's pretty awful. It's another way we separate ourselves out from reality. This is what's happening and I don't like it. I don't want this to be happening. So whether we fight with reality or hide from reality or numb ourselves to reality, we're in pain. We're in a kind of a losing battle. And like I said, it's a totally blameless thing. There's no judgment about being in a losing battle. The only problem is that there's no way to win it. So some of the things we crave, and we may think that we're going to get that craving met by fixing ourselves, fixing the world, maybe by finding the right bottle of wine, or again, the right partner. But some of the things we crave are wholeness. Some of what we crave is completeness. Feeling that we belong. Feeling that things make sense, that there's an order. We crave authenticity, realness. We also crave peace. We want rest. And love, and care, and sensitivity. But the problem is we've got this shell. And the shell was put there to be safe, and to feel whole, and to be protected. And it may have even done a pretty good job for a while. But again, the shell becomes our prison. The shell of separation becomes the place where we're trapped. And it could happen that we start to get a whiff of something else, of something more meaningful than fixing our lives or fixing the world, or just resisting change. We start to get a kind of a fragrance of something. Or sometimes they call it the elixir of enlightenment. And we even hear words like enlightenment or salvation or awakening. So then we get to work, we get the tools out, we get the nails and the hammers and the odds and ends and the pieces of wood, and we start to try to kind of cobble together something out of this shell we've built that looks a little bit more like freedom, looks a little bit more like enlightenment. And some people have gone down that road a long way. Some people, maybe this is the first you're hearing about it. But awakening presence, the title of these series of talks, is not something that we do. It's not a job that we undertake to do. It's so tempting to think it's something we can do. But that is forcing the rose. That's peeling the rose. If there was some really great treat being baked a couple blocks away and you could smell it, but you had no idea where it was, you have to quiet down. You have to slow down. And your eyes may not be as much help to you. Your sense of touch might not be as much help. But you'd slow down and you'd focus on the fragrance coming in your nose. For some people it's one of those cinnamon buns that they pipe the fragrance of. So you'd slow down and start to listen with your nose. Get the few molecules. Maybe go a little this way and go a little that way. But there'd be a curiosity in there. There'd be an interest. And parallel to that, the interest in awakening, the interest in enlightenment. Is a kind of a guidance. It's driven by a love for something that's bigger than what we know. So because it's bigger than what we know, we can't capture it in our minds. We can't obtain it by actions. There's the adage that enlightenment is an accident, but through practices like yoga and meditation, you can make yourself more accident prone. I had one teacher that used to talk about the kiss, and she would say that you have to leave everything behind in order to really be there for that kiss. And so we're talking about essentially the kiss of spirit, the kiss of presence, the kiss of immanence, making contact with what is most real about life. That really simple thing that we see when we look into the baby's face, right, Marie? We see it, we feel it very directly. There's no filter there. The baby doesn't have a shell yet, right? And we fall in love right there. So that indicates that it's not a pursuit necessarily of your mind, although the mind can help. It's not a pursuit of your body through activity, but there's something of a heart engagement that has to be there. We often talk about the love of the truth for its own sake. We have to love the truth to want to follow the scent of the truth. And some people just have that love of truth with abandon and passion. There's nothing else they want more in their life. And some people just want to go to the bar. It's fine, you know. The truth is actually okay with that. The total reality isn't disturbed amidst all of the billions and billions of stars and galaxies and probably planets and perhaps life. The total universe isn't disturbed if you want to take a lifetime and just go to the bar. But when you do get a whiff of something, when you get a whiff of something more real, more true, more complete, it might start a fire for you. And that's a burning of your heart. That's a burning to know what's real. And it's an opening. It isn't now I know what I want or what I need. It's now I'm ready to put down everything I know about the world and reality and look with presence. Look with that innocence. Because you don't really lose that innocence. We clamp up and sometimes we get a little brain damage, but there's innocence of spirit in all of us. And actually, it's the innocence that reawakens in us. It's the innocence of the universe at play that has thrown all these forms out in the forms, again, of stars and planets, and then finally vegetable matter, and finally animals, and then on our planet, human beings. And so when we start to glimpse this, we might start to have a taste that we're not what we think we are, and we have never been what we thought we were. And we're not something like another version of ourselves that's more spectacular or better or smarter or more beautiful. We're something just way beyond that. We're life having an exploration as a human being. And life has all these inherent properties. Curiosity, love, awareness, sensitivity, strength, determination, drive, passion. When you really see into a human being, when you really see the basic, fundamental reality of another human being, and then hopefully you see that because you've seen it in yourself, you see an immanent presence, an awareness, an aliveness that is what we've been looking for all along. Whether our looking has taken the form of going out and seeking, or whether our looking has taken the form of hiding and hoping everything would go away, or some mixture of that. So, as has been said many times, we are really what we want. We want ourselves, but we want ourselves nakedly, innocently. Not the shell, not the bubble, not the isolated little moment that happens in time that has a name, and as we get older, aches and pains, and divorces, and lawsuits. We want the naked truth. And so for some reason, the naked truth has me come here and sit and hold the door or open the window or the curtains and say, take a look. See if it looks interesting to you. I mean, I don't have an agenda about it for you. If I'm holding something open that looks interesting to you, check it out, you know. But back to that completeness, wholeness, fulfillment, satisfaction. Back to that sense of being united with everything, having something in common with all of reality, and beyond having something in common with reality, feeling as the whole, experiencing life as the part. Back to our deep need to feel that we belong. And I would say even more than belong. That we are one with reality. And I'll guarantee you that if you're trying to follow this with your mind, it's not gonna work. It's an intuitive sense. Just like you don't need your mind to tell you when you're hungry. So, to be undivided on the level of soul, on the level of essence, on the level of being, is to really have no enemies, even things that will kill you. It doesn't mean to be stupid, and it doesn't mean you can't get out of the way when something that will kill you comes along. But it means that we're no longer at war with the world, with ourselves. With our own feelings. So, maybe that's helpful. Maybe we can relax a little. Not fight so hard. Not put so much energy into the shell. Maybe we can see that everything is actually okay. Even as fucked up as it can be. Everything is actually okay.